Did Sean Payton just take a shot at Russell Wilson, all while comparing Bo Nix to Drew Brees? We're going to break down this quote that's kind of gone viral amongst Broncos country on today's show. But welcome into an at-home edition of the Broncos Breakdown. Matthew Peterson here, filming from my parents' house, came home for the weekend, but I didn't want to go another day without talking about the quote that's kind of taken, Broncos Twitter and just Broncos fans by storm. So, following a training camp practice, Sean Payton was speaking to the media, and he was talking about Bo Nix, talking about one of his strengths and traits that they really like about him. And I don't know if Payton directly or intentionally wanted to kind of send a little bit of a shot across the bow to Russell Wilson, but that's how a lot of people have perceived it. Now, I'll read it to you guys. I'll let you form your own opinion, and I'll give you mine after. But here's what Sean Payton said. I think it's a trait that when we watched his tape, you see a pretty good pocket sense, talking about Bo Nix. He doesn't take a lot of sacks. I think he knows when the play is over, time to go. Then I think he can make plays when he's going. I used to say all the time, quote, the sack numbers are a reflection more on the quarterback than the offensive line. Brees was one of those guys. He was a tough sack. The ball came out quickly, and I think Bo has traits like that. Now, he didn't name Russell Wilson by name, but he didn't have to. I mean, let's go back to it. The sack numbers are a reflection more on the quarterback than the offensive line. Which quarterback has been sacked the most in the last 10 years? Russell Wilson. He has taken on a ton of sacks back in Seattle and then at Denver. Now, that was kind of the price of doing business with Russell Wilson's style of play. He liked to hold on to the ball for a little bit longer, and that led to either great moonshots down the field to Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, or even Marvin Mims last year in the Commanders game. But it also led to a lot of sacks. And usually, from the naked eye, the offensive line took a lot of the blame. Man, Russell Wilson sacked 50 times this year. They got to give him an O-line in Seattle. Offensive line's looking around like, man, we're kind of tired of getting a lot of the blame. When we did our job is not just to protect the quarterback, but it's a mutual understanding of, hey, we can't hold up these defensive linemen forever. So can you get the ball out 3 to 4 seconds after you get it in your hands? And if you can't, then that's on us. But there were a lot of instances last year where Russell Wilson held on the ball for a little bit too long, took a sack. Remember the Lions game when Sean Payton and Russell Wilson were, I wouldn't say jawing off at one another. It was more just Sean Payton chewing out Russell Wilson. I think that was kind of just a boiling point of, can you run the offense how I want it to be run? And Sean Payton did not have the right chef in the kitchen for what he was cooking up. Let Russ cook was not something that Sean Payton wanted to do. And Russell Wilson kind of just fell back into his habits of the way he's always played quarterback, which is, I want to be a playmaker. I'm going to hold on to the ball if nothing's open initially. I'm not just going to take the easy check down. I'm not going to throw it out of bounds and live to see another down. I might run with it. I'll try and extend the play, and I'll try and, let someone get open down the field, and it'll be awesome. And for a while there, it was awesome in Seattle, but we always made fun of, Pete Carroll not letting Russ cook and always wanting to run the ball. And I think we've learned all along now that Pete Carroll probably had the right, thing in mind of, let's not let Russ be fully unhinged and unleashed, because it can lead to a lot of sacks, and that leads to a lot of bad things, falling behind the sticks and leading to turnovers and things like that. But there's no doubt in my mind, Bo Nix is excellent at avoiding sacks. For one, he didn't fumble the ball once at Oregon. That's kind of just crazy to think about. Played a lot of football. Played 5 years in college football. 2 years at Oregon. No fumbles. He was also one of the least sacked quarterbacks. So go back to the draft, and this channel, myself, we had talked a lot about how Bo Nix is a much better fit for Sean Payton than other quarterbacks are. He's going to stay on schedule. He's going to be a little bit of a conductor, right? He's not going to be some improv artist that's going to pull a rabbit out of the hat, but that's not what Sean Payton asked Drew Brees to do, and they were so successful. I wouldn't be surprised that Sean Payton's trying to find a next quarterback that, sure, it's probably not going to be like Drew Brees. That's a Hall of Fame quarterback. That's just too big of an ask for any player stepping into his offense. But can you stay on schedule? Can you follow the playbook? And can you do what you're being asked to do? Can you be a good foot soldier? And Bo Nix was really good at that at Oregon. So I can see the marriage, from months away before the draft of, Bo Nix and Sean Payton, probably a good fit together. Now, Sean Payton has been very particular with his words when reporters tried to get him to compare Nix to Brees. This was probably the most blatant, just apples to apples, connect the dots comparison he's made between Nix and Brees. It's come up before in questions, and he usually dodges it, or he's just pretty honest about, there's not a lot to compare. They're different quarterbacks, they're different people, and if you guys want me to say Bo Nix is just like Drew Brees, that's just not true. They're different human beings. But when it comes to the football side of things, there are some comparisons. And what do you know? Sean Payton, who last year, by the way, if you remember, maybe he regrets a little bit of his antics, but he had no fear in going after Nathaniel Hackett and the previous regime and the way things were run before he got there. He, was very direct about coming after people that were there before him. This offseason, that hasn't been the case, and it shouldn't be. That was, at times last year, a little bit immature, and I think he probably recognized that and maybe regrets it a little bit, coming after Hackett, saying it's probably one of the worst coaching jobs ever, and then losing to the Hackett and the Jets at home. That's just karma in some ways, but regardless, I am excited to see Bo Nix start to have some of these comparisons come out with Drew Brees, because for Broncos fans, that's what you've been waiting to hear for a long time. They drafted, a quarterback. Sean Payton drafted a quarterback. Hopefully this quarterback can be like the one he had in New Orleans, who helped win a Super Bowl and is going to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer in the first ballot. So, to kind of put a bow on this, I do think that Sean Payton took a shot at Russell Wilson there. Didn't have to say him by name, but we all know who he was talking about. And I do think there are some similarities in very good ways between Bo Nix and Drew Brees about getting the ball out quickly. Neither one held onto the ball too long. High completion percentage. Why? Well, if you think about what's the easiest pass to complete, the one closest to the line of scrimmage. Not saying that these guys can only check it down, but not just being accurate, but being intelligent with where you put the football, right? You could have the most accurate quarterback ever, but if all of his passes are way down the field, he's going to have a good amount of incompletions. So it's a combination of great accuracy, just that physical trait of putting the football right where it needs to be, but also mentally putting yourself in a good position to be successful, right? Not trying to force the ball where it doesn't belong, but taking what the defense gives you and living to see another down and slowly working your way down the field. So those two things are very present in Bo Nix's game back at Oregon and, of course, Drew Brees' game throughout his entire NFL career. All right, that will do it for us on our at-home edition of the Broncos Breakdown. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll be back on Monday or Tuesday with another video.